Hi, Joe Cerrone.
Anyhow, Rosen.
We're going to look at Lab 2 for CAD 107, Introduction to 3D Printing. Okay, so Lab 2, we're going to model these coasters. And we realized that AutoCAD takes a little bit of time to work on. And so what we've done is we've created these student files that you can download. And so we can download Lab 2A. And then I'm going to open that in CAD. Bring that onto my screen. And so here's Lab 2A. And what we want to emphasize is how we're working on this with CAD. And so when you open this file, you're given the template, but it's a 2D drawing geometry. And so the instructions are to model the coaster using extrude or press pull, and then save the file as XX, replacing the X's with your initials, Lab 2A. Like in the first lab, we're going to export the file as an STL, and we'll turn in the STL and the drawing file. To get started, we'll go to Model Space. And then what we'll do is we'll take a look at the file. And so if we turn the wheel on the mouse, we can zoom in. If we push the wheel on the mouse, we can pan. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take an isometric view. And so I'm going to change the view from top to isometric. And I typically choose the southeast isometric view. And then the part has already been drawn two-dimensionally. And as we look at the part, we want to look at how it's going to be created. And so when we create things or we design for 3D printing, we want everything to be connected. We don't want a piece to be unconnected. And then when we print it, it won't hold together. So for this exercise, we're going to use something called the extrude command. And so we can say extrude and hit enter. And then we can select the part, hit enter, and then we can go up or we can go down. And I'm going to go up 3 millimeters. Now, what you can see is that it extruded everything. And so one of the things that we would need to do would be to subtract out each of these different components. And so we would use a command called subtract. And we would select the larger shape, hit enter, and then the parts to be subtracted. As I hit enter, those parts will be removed. I can right mouse click and say repeat subtract, select the part, hit enter, and then the parts to be subtracted. Hit enter, repeat subtract, large piece, hit enter, and then the parts to be subtracted. If I make a mistake, I can hold shift and click on the part to remove some of the other components. Now, extrude and subtract takes a little bit of time to do. Subtract. Select the large shape, hit enter, and then the parts to be subtracted. So this is a printable part, and we'll show how to use press pull on this also. I can save the part. And so I can say save as, and then I'll save it as my initials. And I'm just going to save this in my downloads. And what you actually do after you've saved the part, let's go into the title block. And so I can go to the title block. By clicking on this tab. And I can add my name here too. And so I can double click on here. And you can see that the part is now properly modeled and displayed in the viewport. So I can again go File, Save As. And here's my file name. I've updated with my initials on it. And then I'm going to also go into model space and export the STL. So I'm going to go into my CAD. I'm going to say export, other file format. I'm going to dial in stereolithography file, STL. I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to select that 3D CAD geometry and hit enter. And what that will do is it will create an STL file in the same directory that I put my CAD file in. Let's take a look at another one. And so if we go back to D2L, and we download Lab 2B, we can open that in CAD. And it's the same type of scenario where we have a part that's been drawn for you, and we're displaying that information for the coaster, and we're going to use press pull to create the geometry for this. And so we're going to go to model space. We're going to get an isometric view. We're going to zoom in on that part. And then we're going to type in press. And you don't have to type in the entire word. You can just get part of it. And then we're going to hover inside here, click, and bring that up 3 millimeters. Just like before, we're going to hit the escape key. We're going to go over to layout mode. On the title block, and you can see the title block has been updated, showing the completed model. Put your student name on it. Save the file as a CAD file. And when I say save it as a CAD file, it's a DWG file. And so I'm going to update the initials on here. I'm also going to just put this in my downloads and save that. And then again, I'm going to export the model for printing. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to the big red A, and I'm going to go to export, other file formats. I'm going to dial in STL. I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to click on the part and hit enter. Okay, so now we've created the drawing file in the STL file, and we'll turn those into the D2L. The assignment is to create these 4 coasters as drawing files and STLs, and then one of your own designs. We'll take those and then we'll bring them into the slicer. Here's a video on how to create the parts, just like I did today. And then when we go into our slicer, Here I am in my Dremel Digi slicer. I'm going to open the file. So I'm going to say File, Open. And I put these in my downloads. And so if I go to my downloads, I should see them. And so here's my 2A file. I'll open that. And there it is. It shows up on the build plate. I dial in my material and the quality. I'm not going to need support on this. And I prepare it. And this will take 1 hour and 5 minutes. If I click here on the name file, I can take off the DC. Can take a look at our slicing. Everything looks good. And then what we would do is we would save it to a removable drive and we would then be able to print it. So again, we'll be printing these for you, turn them into the D2L system. So in D2L, go to the assignments folder. And here's our module 2 CAD assignment. You'll select module 2. Here's the grading rubric. You can share any comments here. We'll add the file. So I'm going to include the drawing file and the STL files. And then you can add a comment. And then we'll say submit. It'll tell you that the file has been submitted successfully. And then you'll get a little bubble that'll tell you that you've confirmed your email submission of your file. All righty, back to the main splash page. All right, so that's module 2. In module 2, you are to model the coaster. There's 4 different templates for you. You can either use press, pull, or extrude. And then your job is to create one design of your own. You'll take those files, you'll save it as a drawing file and as an STL, and you'll turn that into the assignments folder. Alrighty, that completes this video for Lab 2.